Hey guys, tonight we're going to drift back in time to a place where the grocery store was a lake and farming involved building your own real estate from scratch. Imagine, for a moment, standing in the produce aisle. You see the perfect avocado, the plumpest tomato. Now imagine instead that to get that tomato, you first had to dredge up a few tons of mud from the bottom of a lake, build a stable island with it, and then hope a rogue wave didn't reclaim your salad ingredients. Honestly, if you had to do all that for a burrito bowl, you probably wouldn't survive. Your delivery app addiction would be the end of you. The Aztecs, on the other hand, had this all figured out. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Your support is what keeps these journeys into the past going. And for a bit of fun, drop a comment letting me know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see where our little community of history-nesiacs is scattered. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your journey doesn't begin in a bustling city, but in the quiet hush of a high-altitude valley. You are standing on a pine-dusted ridge, and the air here is different. It's thin, crisp, and cool against your skin, carrying the scent of distant rain and damp earth. You're over 7,000 feet above sea level, a height that makes the sky seem a deeper, more impossible blue. Before you, the Valley of Mexico unfolds like a secret map. It's not a valley of green fields and rolling hills as you might expect. Instead, the heart of it glitters. A vast interconnected system of 5 lakes shimmers under the sun, a colossal mirror reflecting the clouds. From your vantage point, it looks like a single, sprawling body of water, a turquoise jewel set in a ring of dark volcanic mountains. On the horizon, 2 giants keep watch. To the southeast, the snow-capped cone of Popocatépetl. The smoking mountain occasionally lets out a lazy plume of steam, a gentle reminder of the power sleeping within. Beside it lies the long, curved ridge of Iztaccíhuatl, the white woman, resembling a figure sleeping under a blanket of eternal snow. Their presence is so immense, so dominant, that it feels less like geology and more like mythology. You get the sense that they see everything that happens down here. You begin to walk, descending from the forested slopes toward the lakeshore. The sheer scale of it all is hard to process. It's not a landscape built for human convenience. There are no roads, no bridges neatly spanning the water. There are just the lapping shores, vast marshes teeming with reeds, and the overwhelming sense of water. You can hear it, a constant, gentle shush against the land. You can hear the cacophony of birds, ducks, herons, egrets, that call this watery world home. It's a birdwatcher's paradise, assuming you don't mind the lack of a comfortable bench or a decent pair of binoculars. As you reach the water's edge, you notice something strange. The ground here is spongy, saturated. A misstep could send you ankle-deep in dark, cool mud. You dip your fingers into the water of this northernmost lake, Lake Zumpango. It's cool and slightly salty. An oddity. You might think all lake water is fresh, but the geology here has played a clever trick. The basin has no natural outlet, no river to carry minerals away to the sea. So for centuries, evaporation has concentrated the salts in the soil, making the northern lakes slightly brackish. Historians still debate the exact routes and timelines of the various peoples who migrated into this valley before the Aztecs rose to prominence. For thousands of years, this place has been a magnet for humanity. You can feel it in the air, a sense of layered history, of countless lives lived and forgotten along these very shores. You are just the latest in a long line of arrivals to be awestruck by this place. You find a simple canoe likely left by a local fisherman and push off into the water. Paddling is slow work, the wooden paddle dipping into the calm surface, creating gentle ripples that disturb the reflection of the sky. As you move south, crossing invisible boundaries, you glide from Lake Zumpango into Lake Xaltocan, and then into the great Lake Texcoco, the largest of them all. The salty taste of the water is more pronounced here. You can see whitish mineral crusts along some parts of the shore. It's a beautiful, shimmering liability. You can't drink this water, and you certainly can't use it to irrigate crops. This, you realize, is the central problem of this paradise. You're surrounded by water yet thirsty, surrounded by land, Yet much of it is either too steep, too rocky, or too marshy to farm. How could a great civilization possibly arise here? It seems about as practical as trying to build a metropolis in the middle of a swamp, which of course is exactly what's going to happen. But as you continue your journey south, a change occurs. You navigate through a narrow strait, and suddenly the water feels different. You've entered the southern lakes, Chalco and Xochimilco. You trail your hand in the water again. It's fresh, sweet, fed by mountain springs. This part of the system is a different world. The shores are greener, the vegetation more lush. This is where the magic can happen. The contrast is baffling and brilliant, a natural segregation of water that will shape the destiny of an entire empire. It's a geological quirk that most people have never heard of, a hidden secret that made everything possible. You now understand the fundamental challenge and the incredible opportunity of this valley. It's a puzzle of salt and fresh mountain and marsh stone and water, and the people coming here will have to be very, very clever to solve it. You are no longer alone in your canoe. The quiet solitude of the lakes gives way to the presence of people, not the established fishermen or villagers you saw before, but a new group, a tribe on the move. You now drift alongside the last stragglers of a long, weary procession. These are the Mexica, a people whose name will one day echo through history, but for now they are just tired wanderers. They are the latecomers to the valley, the unwelcome guests at a party that's been going on for centuries. Other tribes have already claimed the best real estate, the fertile shores, the spring-fed lands to the south. The Mexica have been pushed from place to place, serving as vassals and mercenaries, always searching for a home of their own. You walk with them now, on the marshy western edge of Lake Texcoco. You can feel their collective exhaustion. The children are quiet. Their parents' faces are etched with the dust of the road and the lines of uncertainty. Their priests, however, walk with a tense energy, their eyes scanning the horizon, the sky, the water. They are looking for something, a promise. Their patron god, the fierce Huitzilopochtli, has given them a prophecy. They will find their destined home where they see a great eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus. It's a bit more specific than a realtor telling you to look for a house with good bones, and a lot more is riding on it. The existing powers in the valley, the Tepanecs and the people of Culhuacan, have mockingly offered the Mexica a place to settle, a snake-infested patch of volcanic rock. They survived, eating the snakes and taming the land, much to the surprise of their patrons. But it wasn't the place. The prophecy hadn't been fulfilled. So they were forced to move on again, and now they find themselves here, at the edge of the great salty lake you explored just moments ago. So it's not exactly prime territory. It's swampy, buggy, and surrounded by water you can't drink. The mood among the people is low. You can hear the whispers, the doubts. Was the long journey for nothing? Historians still debate whether this omen was a genuine galvanizing event or a cleverly crafted piece of revisionist history by the later Aztec rulers to legitimize their rule over the valley. Was it a miracle? Or was it a brilliant piece of political propaganda to justify settling on land nobody else wanted? As you stand there with them, it feels real enough. The hope, however faint, is palpable. And then it happens. A scout comes running back, his voice hoarse with excitement. He points towards a small muddy island just offshore, a speck of land that looks no different from 100 others. The priests hurry forward and the people follow, a wave of cautious optimism pulling them. You move with them, your feet sinking. Into the soft mud at the water's edge. You squint, trying to see what the scouts saw. There on the island, a tall nopal cactus stands, its flat green pads studded with sharp spines and dotted with red fruit. And perched atop it, utterly majestic, is a golden eagle. It's enormous, its feathers burnished like metal in the afternoon sun. It stands there, regal and serene, its sharp eyes surveying its watery kingdom. And as the entire tribe watches, holding its collective breath, the eagle lowers its head. In its powerful beak it holds a writhing serpent, a symbol of power, of triumph over the earth. A gasp ripples through the crowd. This is it. Not just an eagle, not just a cactus. All the elements of the prophecy, right here, in this shabby, forgotten corner of the lake. It is an undeniable, divine sign. The priests fall to their knees and a murmur of prayer and thanks rises from the people. The exhaustion on their faces is replaced by a look of awe and profound relief. After generations of wandering, they are finally home. It's a powerful moment, but you can't help but notice the irony. The gods, in their infinite wisdom, have pointed them to a swamp. It's the ultimate fixer-upper. Their promised land is a soggy island in the middle of a salty lake, a place of staggering inconvenience. There's no stone for building, little wood, and almost no land for planting. It's as if they were told their destiny was to build New York City, but the only spot available was a sandbar in the middle of the harbor. Interestingly, while the image of the eagle eating the snake is burned into modern memory, it's right. On the Mexican flag, after all. Some of the earliest Aztec accounts of the founding don't actually mention the snake. The original sign may have just been the eagle on the cactus. The snake, a potent symbol, might have been a later addition to the story, a bit of narrative flair added to make the legend even more powerful. But for the people gathered here, their faces turn to the sky. The details don't matter. What matters is that their god has given them a sign, a location, a purpose. You watch as they wade into the water, their determination renewed. The silent, snowy peaks of Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl stand as silent witnesses on the horizon, just as they were for you. But now their presence feels different. They are no longer just mountains, they are the guardians of this new beginning. The Mexica have found their place in the universe, right here on this muddy island in Lake Texcoco. They will name it Tenochtitlan, the place of the prickly pear cactus. Their troubles are far from over. In fact, they're just beginning. They must now figure out how to survive, how to build, and how to eat, in a place that seems designed to prevent all three. The solution they devise will become one of the greatest agricultural wonders of the world. The initial euphoria of the prophecy begins to fade, replaced by the relentless, damp reality of your new home. Tenochtitlan is less a promised land and more a collection of soggy patches of earth connected by half-submerged walkways. You help gather reeds from the lakeshore, bundling them together to build the first simple huts. The ground beneath your feet is never truly solid. It's a sponge that squelches with every step, a constant reminder that you are living on borrowed, marshy time. The air is thick with the smell of wet earth, fish, and the buzzing of insects that are thrilled to have so many new neighbors to feast upon. Your first home here is a simple reed structure with a thatched roof. It's cramped, and the floor is just packed earth that often feels cool and moist. At night you can hear the lapping of the lake just outside, a sound that is both soothing and vaguely threatening. Privacy is a concept that seems to have been left on the mainland. Families live in close quarters, and the sounds of life, crying babies, quiet conversations, the grinding of what little corn you have, all blend into a single communal hum. It has the vibe of a university dorm, if the dorm were constantly flooding, and the primary building material was grass. Getting around the nascent city is an exercise in aquatic navigation. There are no streets, only a growing network of canals. The canoe is not a luxury. It's the only way to get from your neighborhood to the central, slightly more solid area where the first small temple to Huitzilopochtli is being constructed. You learn to paddle with a steady, practiced rhythm, gliding past other canoes carrying families, fishermen, and bundles of reeds. The city is a living, breathing organism, and its arteries are made of water. The biggest problem, the one that occupies everyone's thoughts, is food. The lake provides, but only up to a point. You and the others have become expert fishermen, using nets and spears to catch the small, silvery fish that thrive in the brackish water. You hunt the ducks and waterfowl that flock to the marshes. But a civilization cannot be built on fish and fowl alone. You need maize, beans, squash, the staples of life. And there is simply nowhere to plant them. The island is small and getting more crowded by the day. Historians still debate the exact population of early Tenochtitlan, but all agree that the small island quickly became insufficient to support the growing number of Mexica. The divine prophecy led you here, but it didn't come with a catering service. To supplement your diet, you learn to harvest from the lake itself in ways you'd never imagined. You watch the women wade into the shallows with fine nets, skimming the surface of the water. They are collecting a blue-green algae, a slimy scum that blooms in the nutrient-rich lake. On shore, they dry this algae in the sun, pressing it into greenish, brittle cakes called tequitlatl. You try one. The taste is unusual. It's intensely savory, a bit like salty cheese mixed with seaweed. It's packed with protein and was a lifesaver for the early inhabitants, but you doubt it would be a bestseller at a modern farmer's market. This is survival cuisine. Meanwhile, your powerful neighbors on the mainland watch you with a mixture of amusement and contempt. You are the swamp dwellers, the upstarts living on an insect-infested mud pile. They demand tribute, not just as a form of tax, but as a constant reminder of your lowly status. You must trade your hard-won fish and the textiles your women weave for basic necessities like stone for tools, wood for fires and canoes, and most importantly, corn from their mainland farms. The imbalance is crippling. Every canoe laden with tribute leaving Tenochtitlan is a reminder that you are not yet masters of your own destiny. You are living at the mercy of others on a patch of land that seems determined to sink back into the lake. The pressure builds. Every new baby born on the island, a cause for celebration, is also another mouth to feed. The salty water of Lake Texcoco, which you noted on your first arrival, makes traditional irrigation impossible. You can't just dig a ditch and flood a field with this water. It would poison the soil. You are trapped in a paradox, surrounded by a vast lake, yet unable to use its water for agriculture. The freshwater springs of the southern lakes, Chalco and Xochimilco, are miles away and controlled by other more powerful cities. You sit one evening at the edge of your small patch of land, looking out over the water. The sun is setting behind the distant mountains, painting the surface of the lake in hues of orange and purple. The beauty of the valley is still breathtaking, but it's a hungry kind of beauty. The prophecy keeps you here, the belief that this is your place. But belief doesn't fill an empty stomach. The old ways of farming, the methods you brought with you, are useless here. A new idea is needed, not just a small improvement, but a radical solution. The conversations around the cooking fires are no longer just about the day's catch, but about the future. They are whispers of earth, of mud, of reeds. People look at the swampy, shallow parts of the lake not as empty space, but as possibility. They are starting to see the problem not as a barrier, but as the raw material for the solution. Your entire civilization is balanced on a knife's edge, and it is here, in this moment of desperate need, that the seed of a revolutionary idea is about to be planted. The whispers around the cooking fires have grown into a murmur of serious debate, and that murmur has led you here. You are summoned to a meeting, not in a grand hall, but in the largest of the reed huts, the one designated for community matters. The air inside is thick with smoke from a single torch, which casts long dancing shadows on the faces of the dozen people gathered here. There are grizzled fishermen with hands calloused from years of handling nets, sharp-eyed women who manage the community's meager resources, and the solemn priests of Huitzilopochtli, whose job it is to interpret the will of the gods. You are here as an observer, a representative of the ordinary family, the one whose survival depends on the outcome of this conversation. An elder, a man whose face is a roadmap of droughts and hard seasons from the long migration, speaks first. His voice is raspy, but it commands silence. He speaks of the past, of the way things were always done. You till the earth, you pray for rain, you plant your seeds. But here, there is no earth to till. His words hang in the smoky air. A problem everyone knows intimately. The tension is palpable. This isn't your typical quarterly planning meeting. The main agenda item is how not to starve. Then, a younger man, a farmer who has spent weeks canoeing through the shallowest parts of the lake, speaks up. He doesn't talk about the past. He talks about the lake itself. He speaks of the way sediment builds up in certain areas, how the reeds grow thickest where the mud is deep. He gestures with his hands, describing the water not as an obstacle, but as a foundation. The earth we need, he says, his voice gaining confidence, is already here. It's just at the bottom of the lake. A priest draws a stick from the fire, its tip glowing like a hot coal. In the dirt floor of the hut, he begins to sketch. First a long rectangle, This, he explains, will be the shape of their new farmland. It's a radical idea. Not a sprawling, irregular field on land, but a perfectly defined man-made plot on the water. It's like they're trying to invent the spreadsheet for farming. The farmer adds to the drawing. He sketches lines along the rectangle's border, representing stakes, strong wooden stakes driven deep into the lake bed. They will have to trade for the best wood, a sacrifice, but a necessary one. Between these stakes, another man explains, they will weave a fence, not of stone, but of the materials they have in abundance, reeds and flexible sticks. This technique of creating a woven lattice wall is called wattle, and while it's traditionally used for huts, no one has ever tried to use it to hold back a lake. This is the moment the blueprint clicks into place. You see the others lean in, their eyes fixed on the simple drawing in the dirt. It's a three-part plan. First, you mark your territory in the shallows with a rectangle of stakes. Second, you build a sturdy, permeable wall by weaving reeds and branches between the stakes. Third, and this is the stroke of genius, you fill the rectangle. You fill it with the rich black mud you dredge from the bottom of the surrounding canals, with decaying plant matter, with composted waste. You don't just find land, you build it. You build a raised bed, a platform of the most fertile soil imaginable, rising just a few feet above the surface of the lake. Historians still debate whether the chinampa was a wholly Aztec invention or an evolution of simpler raised bed farming techniques practiced by earlier cultures in the valley. But sitting here in this smoky hut, it feels less like an evolution and more like a lightning strike of pure, desperate inspiration. It's a synthesis of everything they know, fishing, weaving, building, farming, into something entirely new. The implications are staggering. These islands, these chinampas, wouldn't need traditional irrigation. Their foundations would be constantly sipping water from the surrounding canals, keeping the soil perfectly moist. The canals between them would become new arteries for the city, pathways for canoes to travel, and a source for the mud needed to replenish the soil's nutrients. And most importantly, they could build as many as they needed, extending the city outward, converting the useless salty swamp into a sprawling, edible landscape. They weren't just inventing a farm, they were inventing a suburb. There are questions. Of course, will the wattle walls hold? Will the islands wash away in a storm? How deep do the stakes need to be? The discussion turns to practicalities, to logistics, to the sheer amount of labor required. But the despair that has haunted Tenochtitlan for so long is gone. In its place is a nervous, thrilling energy. The idea is so audacious it's almost funny. You can imagine your mainland neighbors hearing about this plan. The swamp people are trying to build floating dirt rectangles and shaking their heads in disbelief. As the meeting concludes, the priest smooths over the drawing in the dirt with his foot. But the image is now burned into everyone's mind. It's a blueprint for survival, a declaration of independence from the tyranny of the mainland tribute. They will no longer be supplicants begging for corn. They will grow their own. You step out of the hut into the cool night air. The stars are brilliant over the dark water. The city is still just a collection of fragile huts on a muddy island, but for the first time since arriving, it feels like a place with a future. The plan is made. The real work is about to begin. The morning after the meeting, there is no hesitation. The blueprint you saw drawn in the dirt is ready to become a reality. You find yourself standing at the edge of the lake, the cool morning mist still clinging to the surface of the water. The air is filled with a new sound, not just the familiar calls of waterfowl, but the determined sound of human industry. You wade in. The water is shockingly cold, a sharp contrast to the mild air. It rises to your knees, then your thighs, as you move towards the designated spot in the shallows. The mud of the lake bed is soft and yielding, and with every step, it tries to pull your sandals from your feet. This isn't the firm earth you're used to. It's a living, shifting foundation. Around you, dozens of other people are doing the same, a community mobilized for a single purpose. It's the most ambitious team-building exercise you could possibly imagine, with the survival of your culture as the grand prize. You watch as the leaders of the project direct the placement of the first markers. Historians still debate the exact dimensions of the earliest chinampas, but they were typically long and narrow, perhaps 100 feet long by only 8 or 10 feet wide. This shape wasn't accidental, it was designed for efficiency, ensuring that every part of the garden could be reached easily from a canoe or from the bank. 2 men in a canoe paddle out, one at the bow and one at the stern, holding a long rope made of woven reeds to mark a straight line. It's a simple, elegant piece of engineering. Then the hard work begins. Canoes arrive laden with the precious resource you had to trade for. Long, straight, sturdy wooden posts. You take your position in a line of people, passing the heavy stakes from the shore out to the workers in the deeper water. You feel the rough bark, the solid weight of the wood. Each post represents a significant cost, a portion of your community's wealth converted into the skeleton of your future. The sound of mallets striking wood begins to echo across the water. Thump, thump, thump. Teams of men, standing chest deep. In the lake, use heavy wooden clubs or large, smooth stones to drive the stakes deep into the lake bed. It's grueling, repetitive work. They have to drive them through layers of mud and silt until they hit a firm, solid base. This is the part that can't be rushed. A weak foundation means the entire structure could be washed away in the first big storm. Your core tightens just watching them. No gym could ever replicate this full-body, high-stakes workout. You take your turn driving the stakes, the impact vibrating up your arms with each blow. The sun climbs higher, warming your shoulders, but the water remains persistently cold. You focus on the rhythm, on the shared effort of the people around you. There's no single foreman shouting orders. The motivation is internal, a collective understanding that every stake driven into the mud is another step away from the hunger and uncertainty you've known for so long. Special attention is paid to the corner posts. These are made from a different kind of wood, something harder and more resistant to rot. These crucial posts, sourced from the mainland forests at great expense, are treated with reverence. They are the anchors, the cornerstones of this new, floating world. Watching them being carefully and securely hammered into place feels like a significant victory in itself. Once the rectangle of posts stands like a proud fence in the water, the second phase begins. This is the part that relies on skill and finesse. Weavers, mostly women who are masters of the craft from their work on textiles and baskets, begin to create the wattle walls. They stand on submerged platforms or work from canoes, expertly interlacing. Thinner, more flexible branches and bundles of tough reeds between the upright stakes. A pattern emerges. A tight, strong, crisscrossing lattice that looks like an enormous underwater basket. You watch, fascinated, as the wall takes shape. It's not solid but permeable. It's designed to hold in the mud and soil that will eventually fill the enclosure, while still allowing water to seep in and out, keeping the future garden perfectly hydrated. It's a brilliant, simple technology, using the materials you have in abundance to create something strong and lasting. The process resembles the assembly of some colossal piece of IKEA furniture, except the instructions are being invented as you go, and a single mistake could lead to a catastrophic collapse, rather than just an extra unidentified screw. By the end of the day, the frame is complete. It stands there in the fading light, a stark, beautiful rectangle of wood and reeds imposed upon the wildness of the lake. It doesn't look like much yet. It's just an empty box full of water, but it's a box full of promise. You wade back to the shore, exhausted, your muscles aching, your skin caked in drying mud. You look back at your handiwork, the first chinampa frame of Tenochtitlan. You didn't just build a fence today. You laid the foundation for an empire. The hardest part, filling it, is yet to come. The wooden frame stands complete, a testament to your hard work. But for now, it's just an empty promise, a skeleton waiting for a soul. The next phase of the project is where the real magic happens. It's time to create the earth itself. It's a messy, smelly, back-breaking job that will make the stake driving of yesterday feel like a pleasant warm-up. This is the part where you become intimately familiar with the sacred mud. You climb into a canoe, the shallow vessel rocking as you find your balance. Your destination is not the shore, but the area of the lake immediately surrounding the new chinampa frame. The canals that are naturally forming between your future gardens will be the source of your soil. Historians still debate the specific tools used for dredging. While simple baskets and bare hands were certainly involved, some theories suggest The use of specialized, long-handled scoops or even cloth nets dragged along the bottom to efficiently gather the precious sediment. Today, your tools are simpler. A sturdy, wide-mouthed basket and your own two hands. You paddle alongside the wattle wall and lean over the side of the canoe. You lower the basket into the water, pushing it down until it scrapes the bottom. Then, you begin to scoop. The mud is heavy, much heavier than you expect. It's a thick, viscous slurry that resists your efforts. The smell rises up to greet you immediately, an intense, primordial scent of decay and life, of wet earth, rotting plants, and fish. It's the smell of a billion tiny life forms doing their work, the smell of fertility itself. Today, you wouldn't pay for a fancy mud mask at a spa. You're getting a full-body, all-natural treatment for free. With a grunt of effort, you haul the laden basket to the surface. It's not just plain mud. You see a cross-section of the lake's entire ecosystem in your basket: rich black silt, tangled roots of water weeds, the iridescent shells of tiny snails, a few fish bones, and a thick concentration of the same green algae that goes into making the Tenochtitlan cakes. It's a living soil teeming with nutrients. It's the kind of high-end, organic, artisanal compost that people in the future would pay a small fortune for at a garden center. For you, it's just the lake bottom. You paddle your canoe to the frame and tip the contents in. The mud and water splash into the enclosure with a satisfying slop. It's the first deposit. Around you, dozens of other canoes are doing the same. It's a slow, painstaking process. A constant parade of canoes ferries load after load from the canal bottom to the waiting frame. The water inside the rectangle turns black and murky as the sediment begins to accumulate. But you're not just dumping mud in randomly. There's a method to this, a layered approach that is the secret to the chinampas' incredible productivity. You learn to alternate the layers, almost like making a giant lasagna of the lake. First, a thick layer of the heaviest mud and sediment goes down to form a solid base. Then, you gather floating vegetation, water hyacinths, dense mats of weeds, and other organic debris, and lay that on top. This layer is lighter, creating pockets of air and allowing for drainage. Then another layer of mud. Then another layer of vegetation. This layering process is ingenious. It's not just filling a box with dirt. It's building a self-composting, self-aerating bioreactor. The layers of vegetation will slowly break down, releasing a steady stream of nutrients to the plants that will eventually grow here. This process will continue for years, meaning the chinampa will constantly replenish its own fertility from within. Hour after hour, you repeat the cycle. Scoop, paddle, dump. Your muscles burn with the effort of hauling the heavy, wet earth. The sun beats down and you are covered from head to toe in a film of drying muck. It's exhausting and frankly disgusting work. You can only imagine what the Tepaneks on the shore must think, watching you all dredge up the smelliest parts of the lake and lovingly place it inside a fence of sticks. They probably think you've lost your minds. Slowly, miraculously, the land begins to rise. What was once open water inside the frame is now a soupy black marsh. Then, as more and more loads are deposited, the surface breaks through the water level. First, just a few dark peaks. Then, a solid, glistening black island. The process takes days, a monumental effort from every able-bodied person, but the result is breathtaking. At the end of it, you stand on the shore looking at what you have made. Where there was once only the shimmering surface of Lake Texcoco, there is now a solid rectangle of new earth. It is dark, damp, and perfectly level, sitting about a foot above the waterline. The wattle walls are holding strong, containing the immense weight of the mud. The canals you dredged are now deeper and more defined, creating a clear channel of water around your new garden. You have not just built a farm, you have sculpted the lake. You have taken the problem, the water and the mud, and turned it into the solution. This rich, sacred mud is the foundation of your future, the key to your independence. The empty frame is now full, a blank canvas of the most fertile soil on earth, waiting for the final, crucial touch, the seeds of life. The black earth of the chinampa steams gently in the morning sun. It's a solid platform now, a rectangle of pure potential wrested from the lake, but it's still vulnerable. A strong storm, a flood, or simply the slow, relentless lapping of the canal water could erode your hard work, washing the sacred mud back into the depths. The chinampa is built, but it is not yet permanent. Today, you will give it roots. A special delivery has arrived by canoe from the mainland. It's not wood for building or stone for tools. It's a collection of young, slender trees. These are saplings of the ahuexotl, a species of willow that thrives in wet conditions. Its name in the Nahuatl language means water spear, a title that hints at its vital purpose. You are handed one of the saplings. The bark is smooth and cool. The young leaves are vibrant green. It feels alive and supple in your hands, a stark contrast to the dead wood of the stakes you hammered into the lake bed. You walk carefully onto the surface of the new chinampa. The earth is soft and spongy under your feet like a dense wet cake. At the corner of the long rectangle, a spot has been designated. There, you begin to dig. You don't need a tool. You can scoop the rich, dark soil out with your bare hands. It's loose, loamy, and free of stones. You dig a hole a couple of feet deep, the process feeling more like sculpting than excavating. With a reverence usually reserved for a religious ceremony, you place the root ball of the willow sapling into the hole. You gently spread the roots, and then pack the dark earth back around them, firming the soil until the young tree stands upright on its own. It looks small and fragile, a tiny green whip standing sentinel on this vast black field. But you know you haven't just planted a tree. You've driven a living nail through the heart of the chinampa. This is the final, crucial piece of the design's genius. This isn't just for shade or decoration. The ahuexotl is the chinampa's living rebar, its biological anchor. As this willow grows, its roots will push downwards, questing for stability. They will weave their way through the layers of mud and decaying vegetation you so carefully placed. They will pass the wattle walls and the wooden stakes, pushing ever deeper until they burrow into the true lake bed beneath. In time, the roots of the willows planted at every corner and along the sides of the chinampa will form a massive, interconnected net, binding the man-made island to the natural earth beneath it. This makes the chinampa a permanent feature of the landscape, immune to erosion and resistant to floodwaters. It's the ultimate insurance policy, a long-term investment in stability. Historians still debate just how quickly these trees grew and how long it took for their root systems to provide full structural stability to a new chinampa. But their central role in the system's longevity is undisputed. You and the others work your way along the perimeter, planting a new sapling every 10 feet or so. It's quiet, focused work. Each tree is planted with care, a silent prayer for its growth and strength. You are literally rooting for your community's success. These sacred trees, the water spears, will stand guard over your garden, their roots creating an unbreakable bond with the earth and their leafy branches providing shade and protection from the wind. They are a multi-purpose resource. In the future, their branches can be carefully pruned for firewood or for weaving new baskets, a sustainable, renewable part of the chinampa ecosystem. When the work is done, you stand back and look at the result. The chinampa is no longer just a flat block of mud. It's now defined by a neat line of promising young trees. It looks complete, finished. It has a sense of permanence it lacked only this morning. You have taken a piece of the lake and not only filled it with new earth, but have now stitched it to the very bottom of the lake with living thread. It's an act of incredible foresight, a partnership between human ingenuity and the enduring power of nature. You think of the other great structures of the world, built of stone and mortar, held together by sheer weight and mass. Your creation is different. It is held together by mud, sticks, and the tenacious roots of a willow tree. It is strong not because it resists the water, but because it works with it. It has become a seamless part of the lakeside environment, a perfect fusion of the artificial and the natural. The sun is high in the sky now, and the hard work of construction is finally over. The empty canvas is fully prepared. The frame is secure, the soil is rich, and the anchors are planted. A light breeze rustles the leaves of the newly planted ahuexotl trees, the first music to be heard on this new land. The silence is one of anticipation. The stage is set for the final act of creation, the planting of the first crops. The time for construction is over. Now comes the act of faith. You stand on the edge of your new chinampa. The dark, rich earth still damp and full of promise. The sun warms your back. The air is still. For the first time, you are going to plant. Crops not on some distant, grudging mainland plot, but in the very heart of the lake, on land you made with your own hands. But you don't simply scatter seeds across the surface. The Aztec method is far more precise, a system designed to maximize success and eliminate waste. You first walk to a special, smaller plot, a nursery garden known as an almacigo. This is essentially a seed incubator, a small square of the richest, finest mud, where the precious seeds can be given a head start. You take a small, sharp stick and poke a grid of holes into the mud. Into each hole, you press a single seed, a kernel of maize, a smooth bean, a pointed squash seed. Then you cover them with a thin layer of fine soil and water them gently. Here, in this protected nursery, the seeds germinate in ideal conditions. It's a controlled environment, a guarantee that only the strongest, healthiest seedlings will make it to the main stage. You watch over them daily, and within a short time you're rewarded with the sight of hundreds of tiny green shoots pushing their way into the sunlight. Once a seedling is a few inches tall and has a healthy set of leaves, the time for transplanting comes. You carefully lift a tiny maize plant from the nursery bed, its roots trailing a small clump of the dark mud. You carry it over to the main chinampa, which has been prepared for its new occupant. Using a digging stick, you create a small hole in the soft earth and gently place the seedling inside. You press the soil around its base, giving it a new home. It's a meticulous, plant-by-plant process. It's the absolute opposite of a set-it-and-forget-it approach to farming. You plant in the classic formation known as the Three Sisters. The maize goes in first. A few weeks later, once the corn stalks are sturdy and tall, you plant beans at their base. The beans, being climbers, will use the corn stalks as natural trellises, winding their way up towards the sun. In turn, the beans fix nitrogen in the soil, enriching it for the corn. Finally, you plant squash around the base of the corn and beans. The large, sprawling leaves of the squash will shade the ground, preventing weeds from growing and keeping the soil moist and cool. It's a perfect symbiotic relationship, a small community where each plant helps the others thrive. And then, you watch. And you are not disappointed. The chinampa works better than you could have possibly imagined. The soil, a rich stew of lake-bottom nutrients and decaying matter, is impossibly fertile. The roots of your plants have access to a constant supply of water from the canals, seeping up through the soil in a perfect, continuous irrigation system. You never have to worry about drought. It's like you've activated a cheat code for farming. The growth is explosive. The corn stalks shoot up, strong and green. The bean vines wrap around them eagerly, and soon heavy pods begin to form. The squash plants spread out, their broad leaves creating a living mulch, and their bright yellow blossoms seem to appear overnight. The chinampa is no longer a black, empty rectangle. It's a riot of green life. Historians still debate the exact crop yields of a typical chinampa, but all agree they were astonishingly high, far surpassing any other agricultural system in Mesoamerica at the time. It wasn't uncommon to get up to 7 harvests a year. From a single plot, a level of productivity that was simply unheard of. The day of the first harvest is a day of celebration for the entire community. You walk onto the chinampa, the very same one you helped build and fill, and you are surrounded by abundance. You reach out and grasp an ear of corn. It feels heavy and solid in your hand. You pull back the green husk, revealing perfect rows of plump, milky kernels. You snap it from the stalk with a satisfying crack. You gather the long bean pods, their brittle shells making a soft rattling sound. You cut the thick stems of the heavy squashes, lifting them from beneath their shady leaves. The canoes that once hauled mud now return to the shore laden with a mountain of fresh food. That evening, the smell of wood smoke is mixed with the scent of roasting corn. You take your first bite. The sweetness explodes in your mouth. It's the taste of victory, the taste of survival, the taste of home. This isn't a meager tribute, portioned from a neighboring lord. This is the fruit of your own labor from your own land. It's the best thing you have ever tasted. The harvest is so bountiful, it creates a new, wonderful problem: storage. Granaries have to be built. New ceramic. Pots have to be fired. The specter of hunger that has haunted your people for generations begins to recede. You have not only solved the puzzle of the swampy lake, you have turned it into a paradise of plenty. You have proven the prophecy right. This impossible place, this island in a salty lake, was indeed your destiny. And with your bellies full, and your future secure, the energy of your people can now turn from mere survival to building a civilization. Your single chinampa is no longer alone. Its success was a spark that ignited a fire of creation across the lake. The blueprint was proven, the method perfected. Now, looking out from the shore of your island city, Tenochtitlan, you see that the work has been duplicated 100-fold, 1,000-fold. A vast green checkerboard now spreads across the shallow waters of the southern lakes, a testament to the relentless industry of your people. The city is growing, not upwards with stone, but outwards with earth. Today you will journey through this new world you have helped create. You step into your canoe, a simple dugout that feels like an extension of your own body, and push off from the small dock at the edge of your chinampa. You leave behind the familiar sights and smells of your own garden and glide into the liquid street that separates your land from your neighbors. This is the new geography of your life. Your world is defined not by fences and roads, but by canals and the willow trees that line their banks. Remember those fragile saplings you planted? They are taller now, their leafy branches providing dappled shade over the water, their roots holding your world together from below. You paddle out of your quiet residential canal and turn into a main thoroughfare. The change is immediate. It's like turning off a quiet side street onto a bustling highway. Here the canal is wider and the traffic is heavy. Canoes of all shapes and sizes glide past you. Long, heavy vessels sit low in the water, piled high with yellow maize and green squash from the outer gardens, heading for the city's central market. Small, swift canoes dart between the larger ones, paddled by fishermen with their latest catch or messengers carrying news. It's a traffic jam, Aztec style, but the only sounds are the gentle dip and pull of paddles, the soft lapping of water against wood, and the murmur of human voices. You don't have to worry about finding parking. You just find a willow tree and tie off. As you paddle, you see life unfolding on the chinampas you pass. On one, a family sits outside their simple reed and wattle hut, mending fishing nets. On another, children laugh as they chase a duck near the water's edge, their parents keeping a watchful eye. The smoke from cooking fires rises from each small island, each one a self-contained world of family and farm. This isn't just an agricultural zone, it's a floating suburb, a water world Venice, but with much more corn and fewer tourists. Historians still debate the degree of central planning involved in the canal network's layout. Was it an organic grid-like pattern that emerged naturally as new chinampas were built side by side? Or was it a grand top-down urban planning project directed by the Aztec rulers? From your vantage point in the canoe, it feels like a bit of both. There is a clear grid-like logic to the main arteries, but the smaller connecting canals seem to wander and twist with a more organic, local character. You paddle past a crew engaged in the vital work of maintenance. A man stands chest-deep in the canal, using a long-handled scoop to dredge the dark, rich mud from the bottom, the very same mud you once hauled to build the chinampas. This isn't for a new construction project. He scoops the mud and plops it onto the bank of the adjacent garden. You realize this is the secret to the system's eternal youth. The canals, which act as streets, are also a perpetual source of fertilizer. By dredging them, you not only keep them clear and navigable, but also constantly replenish the soil of the gardens with a fresh layer of nutrient-rich silt. It's a perfect, closed-loop, sustainable system. The city's streets are literally feeding its people. The canals are the center of commerce and communication. You see a woman in a canoe laden with brightly colored woven textiles haggling with a farmer who is offering a basket of chili peppers in trade. News travels this way, too. Paddlers call out greetings as they pass, sharing gossip, relaying messages and keeping the sprawling water city connected. It's a social network powered by paddle and voice. You drift for a while, letting the gentle current guide you. The sheer scale of it is humbling. What began as a desperate idea sketched in the dirt has become a living, breathing city of canals and gardens, stretching as far as the eye can see. You are surrounded by the sights, sounds, and smells of success. The gamble paid off. The hungry, beleaguered tribe living on a miserable mudflat has transformed itself and its environment into a powerhouse of production. You have engineered an ecosystem that is perfectly suited to your needs, a testament to what can be achieved when desperation meets ingenuity. You lean back in your canoe, trailing your hand in the cool water of the canal, and feel a deep sense of peace. Your city is alive, it is growing, and its lifeblood flows through these very waterways. Your belly is full and the granaries are stocked. The gnawing anxiety of hunger that defined the early days in Tenochtitlan has been replaced by a deep sense of security. The success of the chinampa system has provided a luxury you hadn't even dared to dream of before, a surplus. And with that surplus comes a new purpose. Your people do not live by corn alone. The gods who guided you here, the gods who receive thanks for every successful harvest, must also be fed. And their preferred food is beauty. You are now tasked with a different kind of farming. You paddle your canoe not to the familiar green fields of maize and squash, but to a new chinampa that seems to burn with color. As you approach, the air itself changes. It becomes thick with 1,000 sweet, spicy, and intoxicating perfumes. You have arrived at Xochi Chinampali, a flower chinampa. The moment you step onto its soft earth, you are immersed in a world of overwhelming sensory input. Your previous garden was a grocery store. This is a temple of fragrance and color. Before you, rows of Aztec marigolds, the cempasúchil, blaze. In fiery shades of orange and yellow, their pungent, almost musky scent is said to attract and guide the souls of the dead, and they are essential for any ritual honoring your ancestors. Historians still debate the full symbolic meaning of the cempasúchil, but its power is undeniable. Standing amidst them feels like being bathed in a sunset. If you had allergies, this would be your own personal underworld. Beyond the marigolds are the dahlias, their complex geometric petals ranging from the deepest blood red to the palest pink. Then there are the tuberoses, tall stalks of waxy white, blossoms whose perfume is so potent, so creamy and sweet, that it becomes almost hypnotic at dusk. You cultivate passion flowers, whose impossibly intricate blooms are seen as symbols of the cosmos, and lupins, and countless other varieties whose names are a kind of poetry. Tending to these flowers is a delicate art. You use the same techniques, the nursery beds, the careful transplanting, but the goal is different. You are not cultivating calories, but perfection. A single, flawless blossom is more valuable than a dozen imperfect ones. You move through the rows, gently removing any withered leaves, ensuring each plant has enough space, your hands becoming stained with pollen. The work is peaceful, meditative. It's a stark contrast to the grueling labor of hauling mud or harvesting heavy squash. But these flowers are not mere decoration. In the Aztec world, flowers are a currency of faith, a language spoken directly to the gods. They are woven into massive garlands that are draped on the statues in the temples. They are worn as crowns by priests during ceremonies and by victorious warriors returning from battle. Their petals are scattered on altars as offerings. When you say you're bringing flowers to an event here, it involves a canoe so heavily laden with blooms that it sits low in the water. This deep connection between flowers and warfare finds its strangest expression in the concept of the Xochiaoyotl, the flower war. This is not a war for territory or tribute, but a ritualized, prearranged conflict with a neighboring city-state. The goal is not to kill your opponent on the battlefield, but to capture them alive. These captured warriors, considered the most perfect and beautiful flowers a city can offer, are then given the highest honor, to be sacrificed to the gods to keep the sun moving across the sky and the universe in balance. It's a chilling, poetic concept. War as a form of sacred floristry, where the harvest is human life. Today, a major festival is approaching, and the demand for flowers is immense. You and your family spend the day harvesting. You cut the long stems of the dahlias. You gather great armfuls of the marigolds. You carefully bundle the tuberoses so their delicate petals aren't bruised. Your canoe, once used for mud and corn, is now a floating garden, a riot of color and scent. You join a great flotilla of other flower canoes, all paddling through the main canals towards the heart of Tenochtitlan, where the great Templo Mayor is rising higher every year. The waterways are transformed into rivers of flowers. It is an unbelievable sight. As you paddle, you see the city preparing for the festival. The air hums with energy, a mix of pious devotion and celebratory excitement. You so deliver your precious cargo to the temple priests, who receive the flowers with solemn thanks. You have fulfilled your duty. You have helped provide the sacred beauty necessary to please the gods. You paddle back to your chinampa in the fading light, the scent of your floral cargo still clinging to your clothes and your canoe. You pass the chinampas growing maize and beans, the pragmatic life-sustaining gardens, and you feel the deep connection between them. The humble corn feeds the farmer grows the sacred flower, the flower feeds the gods, and the gods, in turn, ensure the sun will rise to ripen the corn. It is a perfect, fragile, and beautiful cycle, and your flower garden is an essential part of it. The day begins before the sun, in the cool grey quiet of the pre-dawn. A fine mist hangs over the canal, muffling all sound. You awaken not to a sudden alarm, but to the gentle stirring of your family in the single-room hut that is your home. The house itself is a product of this water world, built from the same reeds and wattle as the chinampa's first retaining walls, with a thick thatched roof that smells sweet and earthy after a rain. Your front door opens directly onto your garden, a commute of about 3 steps. You hear the soft rhythmic pat-pat-patting sound that is the heartbeat of your household. It's your wife, or perhaps your mother, already at work, shaping maize. Dough into thin, flat discs for the morning's tlaxcali or tortillas. You see her silhouette against the gentle glow of the hearth fire, where a clay griddle called a komel is already heating up. The smell of wood smoke and cooking corn fills the small home, a comforting, familiar scent that will forever mean morning. Historians still debate the precise division of labor within Aztec families, but it's generally understood that men focused on heavy agriculture, fishing, and warfare, while women managed the household, weaving, and the preparation of food, which was an incredibly time-consuming task. As a man, your work for the day lies just outside. You step out onto the soft earth of the chinampa. The ground is cool and damp under your bare feet. You spend the first hours of light tending to the garden, your open-air office. You check the maize for pests. You guide a climbing bean tendril onto its cornstalk trellis, and you pull the few tenacious weeds that have pushed through the squash leaves. The work is constant but never frantic. The chinampa is a living entity, and your job is to be its attentive partner. Your children's playground is the canal. They learn to swim almost as soon as they can walk, and to paddle a small canoe with an effortless grace that you, an adult, still have to think about. You watch them for a moment, laughing as they try to catch a frog at the water's edge. This environment, which would seem so hazardous to outsiders, is simply their backyard. It teaches them to be self-reliant, strong, and observant. The midday meal is simple, eaten in the shade of a willow tree at the edge of your chinampa. It's a testament to your self-sufficiency. You eat the fresh tortillas, hot off the comal, filled with beans and sprinkled with chili. There might be a freshly caught fish, steamed in corn husks with fragrant herbs you also grow. Everything you eat, you have either grown, caught, or foraged within a few hundred feet of your home. The phrase farm to table is not a trendy concept here. It's the only way of life. In the afternoon, you might take the canoe out to check your fishing nets or travel to a neighboring chinampa to trade some of your surplus squash for a handful of chili peppers or some medicinal herbs. The community is woven together by these small, constant exchanges. The evening meal is the main gathering time. As dusk settles, painting the sky and the water in soft purples and pinks, the family comes together. Tonight's meal is special. Along with the usual staples, there is a savory stew. The ingredients showcase the incredible diversity of the Aztec diet. It contains chunks of turkey, the huisolotl, a bird your people domesticated centuries. Fergo, it also features axolotls, the strange frill-necked salamanders native only to these lakes, which have a delicate taste like eel. It's seasoned with tomatoes, wild onions, and epazote, a pungent herb. While you don't eat it every day, You know that some of your neighbors also keep and raise the Itzquintli, a small hairless dog, for meat, another important source of protein in a world without large domesticated livestock like cows or pigs. Inside the hut, a small altar sits in the corner. On it rests a simple clay incense burner and a few of the brilliant marigolds you harvested from the flower chinampas. Before eating, your family offers a prayer of thanks to the gods of the earth and the rain, a quiet acknowledgement of the cosmic bargain that allows you to live in such abundance. As darkness falls, the world shrinks to the warm glow of your hearth. There are no lamps or candles to light up the night. The darkness is total, and the stars reflected in the still water of the canals seem close enough to touch. You sit outside your hut, listening to the night sounds of the lake, the chirping of crickets, the deep croak of a bullfrog, the distant splash of a fish jumping. It's a profound peace. You are a single family on a single man-made island, part of a great and growing city of them. You are safe, you are well-fed, and you are home. You have everything you need right here on this small patch of earth floating in a lake in the heart of the valley. Your family is prosperous, your small chinampa home is secure, and your personal granary is never empty. But you are a single cell in a vast, complex organism. That organism is the city of Tenochtitlan, and it is growing. The success of your garden, multiplied by tens of thousands, has created a food surplus that is now the engine of an empire. Today you will see exactly what that engine powers. A portion of every harvest you produce is designated as tribute, a tax paid to the rulers of the Triple Alliance. It's your civic duty, your contribution to the state. You are tasked with transporting your share, several heavy baskets of maize and a large net filled with dried fish, to the city's heart. You load your canoe, and it sits low in the water, under the weight. Your journey this time is not just a casual paddle to a neighbor's dock. You are joining the main artery of the imperial supply chain. As you merge into the wider canals leading to the city center, you are surrounded by a massive, organized fleet of other tribute canoes. Some are from your Chinampa district, laden with produce. Others have come from farther-flung subject territories, carrying different kinds of wealth. Bundles of brilliant green quetzal feathers from the southern jungles, heavy copper axes from the west, sacks of salt, and precious raw cotton. It's the logistical network of a major corporation, all run without wheels, beasts of burden, or spreadsheets. Your destination is the market at Tlatelolco, Tenochtitlan's sister city on a neighboring island, connected by causeways and canals. The entrance to the market is an overwhelming sensory assault. The sheer number of people is staggering. Historians still debate the exact population of Tenochtitlan at its peak, with estimates ranging from 200,000 to over 350,000 people. But all agree it was one of the largest and most populous cities in the world at the time, larger than London or Paris. And it feels like every single one of them is here today. You navigate your canoe to a designated unloading spot and hand your tribute over to an official who makes a careful note on a piece of bark paper. Your duty done, you are free to wander into the market itself. It is a city within a city, a sprawling plaza neatly organized into sections. In one aisle you see vendors selling every kind of food imaginable, not just the maize, beans and squash you grow, but dozens of varieties of chili peppers, tomatoes of all sizes and colors, wild fruits, and tubs of spirulina algae. In another section, artisans sell their wares, intricate pottery, polished obsidian mirrors that gleam like black water, and brilliantly colored textiles. There's a section for medicines, with healers prescribing herbs, roots, and barks for any ailment. It's a combination of a farmer's market, a shopping mall, and a world fair, all humming with the noise of thousands of people haggling and trading. You watch a transaction. A man wants to buy a large turkey. The merchant tells him the price: 100 cacao beans. The buyer pulls out a small cloth bag and carefully counts out the dark, bitter beans, which are used as a form of currency for smaller purchases. For larger items like a warrior's feathered costume or a plot of land, the price might be calculated in standard lengths of woven cotton cloaks, called quachtli. It's a sophisticated economy, functioning without coins, all based on shared values and trust. But as you wander, you begin to see where the real wealth of your chinampa harvest goes. You see merchants who are not selling food, but crafting fine jewelry from gold and jade. You see priests in elaborate feathered cloaks, their time devoted entirely to complex rituals and studying the stars. You see administrators and judges, their work being governance, not farming. None of these people grow their own food. They are all fed by the surplus you and your fellow chinampa farmers create. Your simple maze is transformed through the alchemy of the state into art, religion, and order. Then you see them, a contingent of Aztec warriors marching in formation through the market. The crowd parts respectfully to let them pass. They are tall, strong, and well-fed. Their obsidian-edged swords, the makuahuitl, are carried with practiced ease. Their cotton armor is thick and their shields are decorated with vibrant symbols. And you understand, with a clarity that is almost dizzying, the final destination of your tribute. The food from the chinampas feeds the soldiers. A well-fed army can march farther, fight harder, and conquer more territory. Conquered territories pay tribute in the form of luxury goods, feathers, jade, gold, which makes the city even richer. That wealth, in turn, allows for the support of an even larger army. The Aztec Empire is a vast, powerful feedback loop, and it all runs on the fuel you provide. The army is the muscle of the empire, but the chinampas are its heart, pumping, life-sustaining, sustenance to every part of the body. Your quiet life on your small garden is inextricably linked to the might and glory of the entire Aztec state. You are not just a farmer, you are feeding an empire. A strange rumor ripples through the canals, a story passed from canoe to canoe, gathering intensity as it travels. It speaks of men from the east, men with skin as pale as corn fungus and hair on their faces like a coarse mat. It speaks of creatures. They ride upon beasts described as giant deer that are faster than any human runner. It's the kind of wild, unbelievable tale you might hear from a trader who has spent too long in the sun. You dismiss it at first. Your world, the Valley of Mexico, is the whole world. Nothing exists beyond the great waters, but then one day you see them. You are tending to your chinampa on the southern edge of the lake system, near the great causeway of Iztapalapa that leads into Tenochtitlan. A procession is approaching on the causeway, and it is unlike anything you have ever witnessed. From a distance, all you see is a strange glittering, a rhythmic flashing of light under the midday sun. As they draw closer, you see that the glittering comes from the men themselves. They are encased in shells of a grey, shining material you don't recognize. Metal. It covers their torsos and their heads, and they carry long, sharp pikes made of the same substance. Their clothes are heavy and strange, not the light, breathable cotton you're used to. They must be suffocating in the heat. And then you see the deer. These are the horses, and they are more terrifying and magnificent than any story could convey. You have never seen an animal so large, so powerful, and sitting atop them are the pale men, the two moving as one single, monstrous creature. This is the source of the man-deer legend. The ground trembles slightly as they walk, their iron-shod hooves making a loud, rhythmic clacking on the stone causeway, a sound entirely alien to this land. Alongside them trot other beasts, massive dogs with thick necks and bared teeth, far larger and more aggressive than the small Itzcuintli you know. The arrival feels less like a diplomatic visit and more like a scene from a dark prophecy. But as you watch them, you also watch their faces. And you see an expression you did not expect. Utter, slack-jawed astonishment. These strange metal men are looking at your city, at your world, with wide, disbelieving eyes. They are looking at the vast, shimmering lake, the great causeways, the whitewashed temples gleaming in the distance, and the thousands of chinampas spread out like a vast floating quilt. They are looking at the canoes flitting across the water, the bustling activity, the sheer scale of it all. They are seeing the world you have spent the last 12 sections building, and it is breaking their minds. One of their leaders, a man, with a sharp calculating gaze named Cortés, and his chronicler, a man named Bernal Diaz del Castillo, would later write of this moment. They would say it was like scenes from a book of enchantments, that they didn't know if what they were. Seeing was real or a dream. They saw towers and temples and cities built in the water, and they were speechless. For all their strange technology and terrifying animals, they came from a world of smaller, dirtier cities. They had never seen anything like Tenochtitlan di Durance. Emperor Moctezuma II has decided to welcome them into the city as guests. Historians still debate the precise motivations of Moctezuma II in this fateful decision. Was it a calculated political move to assess a potential threat? A genuine belief that Cortés was the returning god Quetzalcoatl, as some legends foretold, or simply the adherence to a strict code of hospitality for powerful visitors? The true reason remains one of history's great enigmas, so the procession continues, marching towards the city gates. And you, in your small canoe, paddle alongside the causeway, keeping a safe distance, caught between fear and a powerful curiosity. You watch as they are greeted by Aztec nobles in their finest feathered cloaks, presenting them with gifts of gold and intricate textiles. The pale men's eyes gleam with a specific kind of hunger as they look at the gold, a hunger you recognize as dangerous. The encounter is a collision of two worlds that could not be more different. They have steel, cannons, and horses. You have a city that floats, a population that dwarfs theirs, and an intricate social order built on corn, obsidian, and faith. They see a city of unimaginable wealth, ripe for the taking. You see strange, powerful beings whose motives are impossible to understand. As they pass into the city proper, a shadow seems to fall over Tenochtitlan. The familiar sounds of the market seem quieter. The vibrant colors of the flowers on the chinampas seem less bright. An age is ending today. The arrival of these few hundred men has tipped the world off its axis. The very system that made your civilization so successful, its isolation in the valley, its wealth, its unique aquatic engineering, has now made it a target. The awe in the Spaniards' eyes is not just wonder, it is the look of a predator that has just stumbled upon the richest feeding ground it has ever known. The days of wonder are over, replaced by a time of ghosts and ashes. The war has passed, a brutal, bewildering storm of steel, gunpowder, and disease that has left your world shattered. The great temples have been toppled, the priests are gone, and a new power now rules from the ruins of Tenochtitlan, a power that is building a new city, Mexico City, in its place. But the deepest, most profound change is not in the city's skyline, but in the water itself. The new rulers, the Spanish, do not understand the lake. They do not see it as the lifeblood of the valley, a partner to be managed with dikes and canals. They see it as a threat, a nuisance. When the rainy season comes, the lake swells as it has for millennia, and the new city they are building floods. To their European mindset, where cities are built on dry land with roads for horses and carts, this aquatic world is chaotic and dangerous. Their solution is not to adapt, but to conquer. They decide they will defeat the lake itself. You watch as the great project begins. It's an idea that would have been unthinkable to your ancestors, as insane as trying to flatten the great volcanoes. They are going to drain the Valley of Mexico. You stand on the edge of what was once a bustling canal and watch men with iron, tools, shovels and pickaxes that bite into the earth with a cruel efficiency, begin to dig a massive trench, a great open wound in the earth leading out of the valley to the north. This is the beginning of the Tajo de Nochistongo, the great cut that will be the drain for your entire world. The work is slow at first, but relentless, and day by day you begin to notice the change. The water level drops. It is almost imperceptible. At first an inch, then another, but it does not stop. The shoreline recedes. The once broad canals that served as the highways of your empire become narrower, shallower. Canoes begin to scrape bottom in places where the water was once deep. Then the true tragedy reveals itself. You look out at the chinampa fields, the beautiful life-giving gardens that fed an empire, and they are dying. The gardens that were designed to sip water gently from the canals are now being left high and dry. The rich black earth, once perfectly moist, begins to dry out under the harsh sun. It cracks. It turns to grey dust. The willow trees you planted, the ahuexotl whose roots were meant to anchor the gardens to the lake bed, now stand stranded on mounds of dry earth, their leaves turning yellow. They are like sailors whose ocean has vanished. The plants wither. The vibrant green of the maize and squash fades. The brilliant colors of the flower chinampas dim. The entire system, a perfect, sustainable miracle of engineering, is being undone. It is dying of thirst in the middle of what was once a great lake. The Spanish worldview, born of a dry, terrestrial landscape, could not comprehend the delicate genius of yours. For them, land was for farming and water was for sailing. The idea of farming on the water was an alien concept they were now actively erasing from the landscape. Historians still debate whether the great floods that plagued the New Mexico City were a natural consequence of the valley's hydrology, or if they were made catastrophically worse by the early Spanish disruption of the complex Aztec water control systems, like dikes and sluices, that they didn't fully understand. In their attempt to solve the problem of flooding, they created a far greater one: the death of the very ecosystem that made life in the valley so abundant. You walk through the dying chinampa fields. The air, once humid and smelling of damp earth, canned flowers, is now dusty and dry. The wind blows clouds of fine alkaline soil from the exposed lakebed, stinging your eyes. The sounds of the lake, the lapping water, the call of the herons, the splash of canoe paddles are gone, replaced by the grating scrape of iron on rock and the shouts of the overseers directing the digging of the great trench. It is a slow, heartbreaking process. You are witnessing the unmaking of a world. Every inch the water level drops is another nail in the coffin of your way of life. The sacred mud you once hauled with such reverence is becoming useless dirt. The canals you navigated are becoming muddy ditches, and soon they will be paved over to become roads for carts you cannot afford and do not need. Your people, the people of the lake, are becoming strangers in their own land, a land that is being deliberately and methodically erased before your very eyes. You look out at the shrinking, dying lake and feel a grief so profound it has no name. You are not just losing your farms, you are losing your world. The centuries dissolve like mist over water. The profound grief of the past fades into a distant historical echo. The you that witnessed the conquest and the unmaking of a world recedes, and a new you takes your place. You are here now, in the 21st century, but you are still on the water. You are sitting in a brightly colored boat, a flat-bottomed trajinera, painted in brilliant shades of pink, blue, and yellow, with a canopy to shade you from the sun. The name Lupita, or Sophia, is painted in an arc over the top. You are not alone. Other boats filled with families and friends float by, and the sound of mariachi music drifts across the water from a nearby boat. A vendor in a smaller canoe paddles up alongside you, offering roasted corn and cold drinks. It's festive, noisy, and cheerful. This is Xochimilco, the place of the flower field, a weekend destination for the residents of the vast metropolis that is modern Mexico City. You are gliding along a canal that is a memory of a great lake. This small, surviving network of waterways in the south of the valley is the last living remnant of the vast aquatic world you once knew. The great Lake Texcoco is gone, paved over by an international airport and endless city streets. But here a ghost of it survives. As your boatman pulls you away from the main crowded artery and into the quieter back channels, the party atmosphere subsides. The music fades, and here you see it. Lining the canals are the chinampas. They are still here. Some are overgrown, some have houses built on them, but many are still being worked. You see a farmer in a straw hat using a hoe to tend to his rows of lettuce and radishes. On another chinampa, a vibrant explosion of flowers destined for the city's markets is in full bloom. It's a direct, unbroken line stretching back 500 years. The techniques are the same, the rich, dark mud is the same. The willow trees, descendants of the first Auexotl, still stand guard, their gnarled roots gripping the banks. You see the whole story, laid out before you in this living museum. You see the ingenuity of the first blueprint, the hard labor of the foundations, the miracle of the first harvest. You see the legacy of the canal network and the enduring love for flowers. It's all still here, stubbornly refusing to disappear completely. But you also see the modern threats. The water is darker than it should be. A a sign of pollution from the surrounding city. You see plastic bottles floating in the reeds. The banks of some chinampas are eroded, not by waves, but by the burrowing of non-native carp and tilapia that were introduced into the canals and have disrupted the native ecosystem. Historians and ecologists still debate the best methods for preserving the fragile ecosystem of Xochimilco, trying to balance the demands of tourism, the needs of the traditional farmers, and the fight against pollution in a modern mega-city. The battle to save this last remnant is ongoing. You ask your boatman to stop for a moment in a quiet, sun-dappled stretch of canal. You close your eyes. You filter out the distant sounds of the modern world and listen. You hear the lapping of water against the boat. You hear the rustle of leaves in a willow tree. You can almost hear the echo of an Aztec paddle dipping into the water, the distant murmur of the Nahuatl language, the scent of copal incense from a forgotten temple. The Aztec Empire is gone. Its armies, its priests, its kings have all vanished into the pages of history. But its single greatest idea, the idea born of desperation in a swampy lake, has proven to be more resilient than any temple or throne. The chinampa was a perfect answer to a specific problem, a masterpiece of sustainable agriculture and ecological engineering. It reminds you that sometimes the most brilliant solutions are not about conquering nature, but about entering into a clever and respectful partnership with it. Your journey is over. From the first sight of the pristine valley, to the founding of a city, the invention of a new world, the rise of an empire, its tragic fall, and its lingering, beautiful echo. You have witnessed it all. The sun is getting lower in the sky, and the light on the water is soft and golden. It's time to head back. The gentle rocking of the boat begins to slow. The vibrant colors of the day start to soften into the deeper, calmer hues of twilight. The sounds of the canals, the distant music and voices all begin to fade, blending into a low, pleasant hum. Your journey through time is complete, and now there is only the quiet, peaceful present. Let the lingering images, the shimmering water, the green gardens, the silent glide of the canoe become soft, hazy, and indistinct. Your mind has been busy, traveling across centuries, but now it can rest. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to see. The story is told. The great city sleeps under a new name, and the lakes have mostly turned to dust, but the memory of the water lingers. Let that feeling of gentle, lapping water soothe you. Feel the comfortable weight of your blankets, like a safe harbor after a long voyage. Let go of the details now. Let go of the names and the dates. Let them all drift away like fallen leaves on a slow-moving canal. All that matters now is the feeling of peace, the gentle rocking motion carrying you further and further away from the waking world. Your breathing is slow and deep. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are ready for sleep. Just rest now. Rest.